The moment I knew it was over wasn't when she stopped touching my arm in passing, or when her laughter stopped sounding like it belonged in our apartment. It was when she tried to make my presence feel like an intrusion in the home I built for us, and she said it like it was a reasonable favor. It was a Wednesday, not a weekend. That detail matters because she later tried to rewrite the night as if I was being dramatic after a few drinks. I wasn't drinking. I was coming home from work with my head buzzing from a marathon day that started before sunrise and turned into the kind of grind that makes you forget what your own voice sounds like. I walked into the apartment at 7:18 p.m. The hallway light in our building flickered like always. The elevator smelled faintly of cheap cologne. By the time I got to our door, I was already picturing the small rituals that kept me sane. Shoes off, shower, food, a dumb movie I didn't need to think about. Silence that felt earned. I paid for that silence, literally. Rent, utilities, internet, insurance. I wasn't rich, but I was steady. That had been my role from the beginning. Her name was Talia. We'd been together a little over 2 years. She had student loans and a job that was half paychecks and half promises. She paid her loans, her phone, her personal stuff, and I told myself we were building. I told myself I was investing in us. The kitchen light was on. The living room was tidy in a way that meant she had been cleaning out nervous energy, not tidying for comfort. Talia wasn't the kind of person who cleaned because she loved a clean space. She cleaned when she was anxious or when she wanted to control the narrative before a conversation. She was standing by the counter with her phone in her hand, pacing a small loop between the sink and the fridge. She didn't look up when I walked in. She just said he's coming over. I didn't have to ask who. There was only one he who lived inside our relationship without paying for it. His name was Nolan. Officially, he was her best friend. Unofficially, he was a permanent third wheel who acted like he had a claim on her attention because he had known her longer. He was the kind of guy who talked about healing and boundaries, but used those words like tools to get what he wanted. He didn't intimidate me physically. He wasn't some charming, successful rival. If anything, he was the opposite. Soft, drifting, always in a crisis, always needing someone to validate his emotions like they were sacred. He was also allergic to responsibility. He was 29 and still talked about getting his life together like it was a destination someone could drive him to. I dropped my keys into the bowl by the door and tried to keep my tone neutral. Tonight is not a great night. I'm cooked. Can you two meet somewhere else? She turned toward me like I had insulted her. Her eyes were already sharp. He's not okay, she said. He needs a safe space. That phrase, safe space, it had become her universal key. It opened every door and locked every argument. If I pushed back, I wasn't just disagreeing. I was unsafe, unsupportive, controlling, and I was tired of being put on trial for wanting basic respect. What happened? I asked, though I could already predict it. It was always something. An ex posted a photo. A friend didn't invite him somewhere. A boss looked at him wrong. His feelings were a constant emergency that everyone else was expected to treat like a fire alarm. She said his ex had moved on, and it triggered him. He's spiraling. He's having a panic thing. He needs to talk. Please don't make this about you. That last sentence was like a quiet punch, because it was already about me. It was about my home, my evening, my bed, my right to exist in my own space without being treated like an obstacle. I breathed out slowly. Fine, I said. Keep it in the living room. I'm going to the bedroom. I'm not engaging. I just need to shut down. Her shoulders dropped in relief. Thank you. You're being mature. You're being supportive. She said it like she was rewarding a dog for not barking. I didn't answer. I walked into the bedroom, closed the door, and sat on the edge of the bed. My back felt tight. My thoughts felt sluggish, like they were moving through thick syrup. I put on my noise-canceling headphones and stared at the ceiling for a minute, waiting for my body to believe I was safe. I tried to read, but the words wouldn't stick. My mind kept drifting back to all the little moments that had built up. Nolan calling at midnight. Nolan showing up unannounced. Nolan needing her to step outside to take a call while I sat alone on the couch, pretending I wasn't listening to the tone of her voice shift into something softer. I had swallowed it all because I didn't want to be the jealous guy. I wanted to be secure. I wanted to be modern and evolved and unbothered. But security isn't the same as self-abandonment, and I'd been confusing the two. I heard the front door open, then the low murmur of voices. I turned the volume up and tried to detach. I told myself it would be an hour. I told myself I could handle an hour. Then the bedroom door creaked. I pulled one ear cup off. Talia stood there with her arms crossed, leaning one shoulder against the doorframe like she was preparing for a negotiation. "What?" I asked. She hesitated, then said, "This isn't working." I sat up. "What isn't working? I'm in here." Door closed, headphones on. She made a small gesture with her hand like she was smoothing the air. "It's not about noise. It's the energy. He knows you're here. It makes him feel judged. He can't fully open up if you're in the apartment." I stared at her for a beat, waiting for the punchline that never came. "He needs privacy," she added. "He needs to feel safe enough to release what he's feeling. There are moments when anger should arrive like lightning, but instead something colder and cleaner takes over. That's what happened to me. It wasn't rage, it was clarity." I said slowly, "What are you asking me?" She drew in a breath like she was bracing for my immaturity. "Can you leave for an hour or so? Please, just go for a drive or something. He's really struggling. Once he calms down, you can come back." The way she said you can come back, like the apartment was hers to grant access to. Like I was a guest waiting for permission. That's when I saw the whole relationship in one frame, like a photograph that had been there the whole time. I saw myself as the one who made the payments and did the planning and kept the fridge stocked, while she treated my presence as optional when it interfered with her emotional theater with Nolan. I could have argued. I could have reminded her that my name was on every bill. I could have asked why his comfort mattered more than my dignity. I could have done the whole exhausting dance of defending myself against accusations I didn't deserve. But I knew exactly how that movie ended. She would label me insecure. Nolan would be the victim. I would become the villain in their story. And nothing would change except my blood pressure. So I nodded once and said, "Okay." Her face softened instantly. "See? This is why I love you. You're not like other guys. You get it." I didn't correct her. I stood up and walked to the closet. She thought I was going to grab gym clothes. Instead, I grabbed my duffel bag. Not the big suitcase, just the bag that looked normal enough to not trigger suspicion. I moved with a calm speed that surprised me. My hands were steady. My mind was quiet. Laptop first, because my work and my life lived in it. Passport, social security card, a folder with the few documents you don't want to replace. External drive with my backups, my watch, 2 changes of underwear, a toothbrush, chargers. That was it. I didn't pack like someone leaving for a weekend. I packed like someone stepping out of a burning building with only what matters. When I walked out of the bedroom, the living room lights were bright. Nolan was on my couch with his elbows on his knees, head down, shoulders shaking just enough to look convincing. Talia hovered near him like a caretaker. She glanced at my bag and smiled like she was proud of how cooperative I was. She walked me to the door. She kissed my cheek. I didn't lean in. Her lips felt distant, like a gesture performed out of habit. "Text me when you're close," she whispered. "He just needs a little time." I looked at her and said, "Take all the time you need." Then I stepped into the hallway and closed the door gently behind me. No slam, no drama, just a soft click of finality. In the elevator, I didn't feel broken. I felt light, like I had been carrying a weight for months and set it down without realizing how heavy it was. I got into my car and drove to a hotel near the business district. Not fancy, clean, quiet, anonymous. The kind of place designed for people who don't want to be noticed. At the front desk, the clerk didn't care who I was or why I was there. That was a gift. In the room, I dropped the bag on the bed and stood still for a moment. The air conditioner hummed. The curtains were thick. The silence was complete. I took a shower that lasted as long as I wanted. I ordered a burger and fries. I watched a mindless action movie with the volume up. I did all the small things that had become negotiations in my own home. By 9:30 p.m., I checked my phone. Nothing. No, are you okay? No thanks for stepping out. No timeline. Just emptiness. At 10:47 p.m., my phone rang. Talia. I let it ring twice, not because I was playing games, but because I wanted to hear my own breathing before I answered. Then I picked up. Her voice was bright, casual, like she was calling to ask what aisle the pasta was in. Hey, where are you? I'm out, I said. She laughed lightly. Okay, but where? Nolan just left. He's better. He really needed that. You should have seen how emotional he got. Anyway, can you grab food on the way back? I didn't eat because it felt rude to eat in front of him. I stared at the wall across from the bed. There was a framed print of some abstract city skyline. Everything in hotels is designed to be forgettable. I said no. The silence on her end was immediate. No. What do you mean no? Just grab something. I'm starving. I mean, I'm not coming back tonight, I said. Her tone sharpened. Don't be dramatic. You left for like an hour. You're acting weird because you're insecure. This is exactly why Nolan doesn't feel safe around men sometimes. They get possessive. There it was. The pivot. Her friend's comfort had now become a moral weapon against me. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't defend myself. I didn't try to win. I said you asked for privacy with him, and I realized I need privacy too. I need it from this, from being second in my own life. What are you talking about? She said, but her voice had changed. The chirpy confidence cracked. You're scaring me. Where are you even sleeping? Not your business anymore, I said. She tried another angle. We can talk. Just come home. Please. You're taking this too far. I imagined walking back into that apartment, the smell of Nolan's cologne lingering in the couch cushions, the expectation that I would smooth everything over and pretend the humiliation didn't happen. I imagined myself apologizing for having a spine. Then I imagined not doing that. I said, I'm done, Talia. Don't call me. She started to say my name, like the syllables could pull me back into place, but I ended the call. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Then I blocked her. I expected my stomach to twist. I expected panic. Instead, I felt something like calm satisfaction, the way you feel after finally canceling a subscription you've been paying for and resenting. I slept. Real sleep. The kind that doesn't require your nervous system to stay half awake. The next morning, I didn't rush. I didn't wallow either. I woke up, drank coffee from a paper cup, and made a plan that protected me instead of preserving appearances. I called my boss and took a personal day. I didn't give details. I said I had a housing situation to resolve. He told me to do what I needed to do. He trusted me because I never abused that trust. Then I called a moving company. Not friends, not a buddy with a truck. Professionals. Fast hands, shrink wrap, dollies, efficiency. At 9:15 a.m., I was standing outside the building with 3 movers and a truck. I knew her schedule. She left for work at 8:45 a.m. and took the train. That gave me a clean window. Nolan, from what I could tell, didn't wake up before noon unless there was a crisis to perform. I unlocked the door with my key and walked in like I belonged there because I did. The apartment smelled like yesterday's air. A faint trace of sweet perfume, and underneath it the stale undertone of someone else's presence. My chest tightened for half a second, not from sadness, but from disgust. I told the foreman we're going to be surgical. If I don't point at it, it stays. And that's what we did. My TV, my sound system, my desk setup, the espresso machine I'd bought because she said mornings felt chaotic. The cookware I paid for. The mattress we shared, I left. Not because I was noble, but because I didn't want to carry anything that felt like her. I packed my clothes, my shoes, my books, the small personal things that would make a new place feel like mine. In the bathroom, I paused at the cabinet where I kept supplies: detergent, paper towels, extra toothpaste. For a moment, I thought about taking it all, not because it mattered, but because it would be satisfying to leave her scrambling. Then I stopped myself. Petty is still attachment. Petty is still a conversation. Indifference is the real exit. So I left the paper towels. I left the detergent. I left the things that said I was still emotionally invested. By noon, the apartment looked wrong. Not empty, but hollow, like a stage set after the actors leave. I put my key on the counter. I wrote a note. Not a love letter. Not a rant. A business memo. Talia, you asked me to leave so you could have privacy with Nolan. I've decided to give you that privacy permanently. I have moved out. The lease and bills are now your responsibility. Do not contact me. I didn't sign it with love. I signed it with my name. Then I walked out and closed the door. The first wave hit an hour later. Calls from numbers I recognized and numbers I didn't. Messages that swung between confusion and rage. Her friends, people who had eaten food in my home and laughed at my table, suddenly wanted to lecture me on being a man. I didn't debate them. I didn't explain my feelings. I sent one message to a group chat that included the loudest voices. Talia asked me to leave my home so she could be alone with another man. I left. I am no longer responsible for her life. Do not contact me again. Then I blocked them one by one. Blocking wasn't revenge, it was insulation. It kept their noise from trying to pull me back into the role of fixer. The one thing I didn't ignore was the legal side. That afternoon, I went to the leasing office and paid the early termination fee. It hurt. Not because I couldn't afford it, but because it was money I'd saved for a trip. Money that could have gone to something joyful. Instead, it was going to buy my freedom. The property manager explained the basics. I would be removed from the lease. If she wanted to stay, she'd have to qualify on her income alone. If she couldn't, the clock would start. I nodded the entire time because I wasn't doing this to punish her. I was doing it to protect myself. The next few weeks were quiet. I moved into a smaller place across town, nothing fancy, clean floors, a door that locked, a fridge that stayed stocked because I stocked it, a living room where the couch didn't hold someone else's performance. I went back to the gym. I went to work. I slept. I felt my nervous system uncoil. Occasionally, curiosity tried to creep in. I wondered what she told people. I wondered if Nolan stepped up now that my money and structure were gone. Then I remembered that curiosity is a chain, and I didn't want to be tethered. About 2 months later, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost ignored it. I answered only because it could have been work. It was a mutual acquaintance, someone I hadn't spoken to in a while. He said he didn't want drama, but he felt like I should know. He told me the apartment didn't last. She couldn't afford it alone. Nolan didn't help. He moved in for a while, promised to contribute, then acted offended when she asked him to pay for groceries. He told her she was becoming controlling and materialistic, the same words she used on me. When the eviction notice arrived, Nolan disappeared, packed his bag while she was at work, went back to his parents, blocked her, left her holding the debt and the consequences. I listened without reacting. Not because I was numb, but because the story was too predictable to feel like a victory. I didn't feel happy about her pain. I felt confirmed. Then I moved on. Another month passed. Life began to feel normal. Not the old normal where I was constantly bracing, but a new normal where my peace wasn't negotiable. On a cold Tuesday evening, I left the gym after training legs. The air outside was sharp. I felt grounded, the way you feel when you've earned your fatigue and it belongs to you. I walked to my car and heard my name. I turned. Talia stood near the sidewalk, hands shoved in the pockets of a thin jacket like she had dressed in a rush. Her hair was pulled back messy. Her face looked older than I remembered, not because of time, but because of stress. Her eyes were red like she had been crying or not sleeping. She said she'd been waiting. She said she knew my routine. That alone made my skin crawl, not out of fear, but out of the old sensation of being monitored. I didn't smile, I didn't frown. I just looked at her and waited. She started talking fast. She said she messed up. She said she finally saw it. She said Nolan wasn't who she thought. She said she was sorry. She said she missed us. She said she had fixed the problem. I let her words hit the air and fall. When she paused, expecting me to fill the silence with forgiveness, I said, "You still don't get it." Her eyebrows tightened. "What do you mean?" I said Nolan wasn't the problem. He was a symptom. The problem was you being willing to make me disappear to make him comfortable. She flinched like I had slapped her. She started to explain. She said she was confused. She said she was trying to help someone in crisis. She said she didn't mean it like that. She said she loved me. I listened until she ran out of breath. Then I said calmly, "Love doesn't ask someone to leave their home so you can have privacy with another man. Love doesn't punish the person who provides stability. Love doesn't treat respect like a reward you hand out when someone behaves." She said everyone deserves a second chance. I said a second chance is for mistakes, not for statements. What you did was a statement. You showed me exactly where I ranked. And I believed you. Her eyes filled. She tried to step closer. I took a step back without thinking. The movement was automatic now, like my body knew where safety lived. She asked if 2 years meant nothing. I said it meant I learned the difference between being patient and being used. She started crying harder. People were walking by. I didn't want to humiliate her. I also wasn't going to rescue her from the consequences of her own choices. I said, "I hope you figure your life out. Truly. But it won't be with me." She asked where I was living. I said that's private. The word private landed between us like a door closing, the same way her request had landed weeks earlier. Only this time, privacy was mine to claim. I got into my car. I didn't slam the door. I didn't speed away. I just closed it, started the engine, and drove off like my future was already waiting. On the way home, I noticed something small and strange. My shoulders were down. I wasn't tense. I wasn't replaying the conversation in my head, trying to figure out what I could have said differently to make her understand. Because I didn't need her to understand. I needed me to respect me. That's what I had been missing. Not love, not loyalty, not even effort. Self-respect. And once you get it back, you don't trade it away for anyone's comfort, not even someone you once called home.